Hoodwood. I'm the Black Bandit KJ Green, welcoming you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. Coming up in this edition, NBA, MLS, and NHL readies for their restart. But Major League Baseball teeters on the brink of disaster. We'll also look at the Confederate Flag being banned from NASCAR, its impact going forward. We'll also have the Hoodwood Hot 5, Phat, head slap, and a multitude of opinions, takes, and all sorts of crazy things. Fasten your seatbelts. Sports from the Hoodwood's coming at you. Let's go.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest, unfiltered commentary and insight on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's Hoodwood's hometown hero, KJ Green.
Greetings from the Hoodwood, where the weather's getting warmer, and I'm hoping that the boys of summer will come out and play, and I'm not just talking about basketball, hockey, and soccer. I'm your man, KJ Green, the Black Bandit, welcoming you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. Let's take a look at the subject that we've been talking about the last 3 weeks. The restarts. Snuffy's asking the million-dollar question. Can we restart already? NBA is supposed to schedule to start on July 31st, but there are already some questions by some players worried about being trapped in the bubble for 7 weeks. Gee, I would just love to be in Orlando, trapped in a bubble to do nothing but play basketball and hang out and eat room service for the next 7 weeks. Boy, that's torture. But there are some players that are worried about the possibility of, if they possibly may be infected with the coronavirus. There's still so many questions and so many things to be ironed out and scrubbed out and worked out. And it's a big hullabaloo and a big mess. Me personally, I just want them to get started. I want them to finish the season that had been so rudely interrupted going on 3 months ago. That's right, 3 months ago. We've been without our American sports for 3 months. The last time we talked about NBA other than are they going to restart was March 11th, when the Jazz and the Thunder abruptly stopped their game in Oklahoma City because they thought that someone had the coronavirus. Turns out 2 players did. Those players have recovered. Now we're wondering, with the 22 teams that are going to be left to finish out the 8 games, will they finish the games out? And will this be another convoluted playoff? Will there be an asterisk? Now see, I've heard people say, well, whoever wins the title, they're going to have an asterisk by their name, like the Spurs did in 99. I disagree. You think about it. How hard has it been for these players to shut it down? You know, they've been in the rhythm of playing since October. Then all of a sudden in March, it's, we're going to stop. Not knowing if they're going to restart. Then, when you finally get a game plan to restart, you've got to relocate. Instead of traveling all over the place, you're relocating to one place, and you're going to be playing, in the case of whoever comes out being the NBA champion, as many as 36 more games. Think about that. 8 games left in the regular season, plus if every series goes the max, that's 7 games a series, 4 series, 28 games, add that to the 8, you've got 36. You could have a team who could realistically be playing almost for a solid calendar year. If they start in July, play through, say, the latest date of Game 7 of the NBA Finals will be October 12th. You give them a month and a half off. Not even a month and a half off, because you're going to have to start gearing back up to start the regular season back over again, say in November. Then you're going to start playing in December, play all the way through. Are you going to play another 82 games? Is this going to be another shortened season? There are so many logistical nightmares that still have to be threshed out. I wouldn't want to be the person who's got to figure all this stuff out. Adam Silver has enough problems trying to keep everybody on the same page. The NHL, they're going to just jump to the playoffs. Now, they already have their playoff structure already set up. There's still a little bit of hemming and hawing with the whole round robin possibilities. they, like the NBA, will probably be starting sometime next month. Most of the teams that are still in it, they're going to be 24 of the 30 teams in the NHL who still realistically have a shot at the Stanley Cup final. There are some teams that won't deserve to be anywhere past the 5 games that they're getting extra for the playoffs. But nevertheless, you're going to have an upset. I guarantee you're going to have some sort of messy upset in the first round, and you're going to have some team saying, well, they didn't belong in the playoffs in the first place. Why were they there? But then they got bounced out. This is going to be a very interesting, convoluted situation in the NHL. The MLS will start over with, they'll pick up their regular season where they left off, even though they played a couple of matches before everything got shut down. They'll do this kind of warm-up tournament where everybody's going to get in and kind of have a mid-season cup. Then they will pick up the regular season and then go on to MLS Cup 20. But the question still remains, how many more games are they going to play in MLS? Are they going to have like a round robin? How many teams are going to get in the playoffs? My poor beloved FCC, way behind the standings already, even though they only played 2 games, but they're already 2 games out. There's still going to be some questions. There's still a lot of things that need to be worked out and threshed out. But MLB is still way behind in setting things up. Try it again. NBA, NHL, MLS, all of them have coherent plans in place and are ready to, they're prepping to restart the season. MLB, on the other hand, doesn't even know how many games they're going to play, much less playoffs. Playoffs? Talk about playoffs? I don't know playoffs. They don't know what kind of structure they're going to do, how many games they're going to play, how many teams are going to be in the playoffs, and how long they're going to play. If they're going to shut the season down in September, October, there are fears that when the weather turns colder, that the COVID-19 will rear its ugly head again, and then they'll have to shut down the season, thereby losing millions of lucrative TV broadcast deal money, because the playoffs, the money for the MLB is almost now totally contingent on broadcast. It is totally contingent on the networks paying MLB to show the games. If there's no games, there's no money. And if there's no money, there's nothing. And I still think, even though MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred has said he is 100% sure that they're going to get a season off sometime, I still think that the Major League Baseball owners would be just as content to junk the season, force everybody in MLB, the entire Players Association, to lose a year of service time and start over for 2021. Now, keep in mind that the MLB collective bargaining agreement is coming up. That is going to just set the table for even more messy, convoluted situations that the MLB and their Players Association have been going at each other's throat for the last 50 years. There have been so many seeds of distrust that have been sown between the owners and the players. They don't trust one another. They can't work anything out. And they're always accusing one another of lying. This situation is going to be messy. The players and the owners are so far apart, they can't even agree on how many games they're going to play. And then MLB is saying, well, we can just unilaterally just say 48 games and chuck the whole thing. I don't even think they want to play that many games. The situation is not going to get any better. I think it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, optimistically, that they can get a deal done for the good of the game. As I said last week in the final word, this is a chasm they don't want to cross, because there won't be any coming back. Major League Baseball, as you and I grew up knowing it, if they lose this season, will be cataclysmic. It will be disastrous. And MLB will fall well out of the pecking order of sports. And you say, well, how can that happen? The fans will not stand for a season that has just gone astray, that they're not going to play. NHL is still recovering 15 years after losing a full season due to labor disagreements. Is MLB arrogant enough to think that they are immune to that? They're going to get a hard, cold dose of reality. Let's take a first time out, come back, and look at the situation in NASCAR. The situation with Bubba Wallace, the situation with the Confederate flag. A whole lot of changes going on philosophically for the good old boys down south. Take time out, Sports with Hoodwood coming back at you.
into Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for no-nonsense commentary, insight, and opinions on the world of sports. Here now live in living color, black by popular demand, your host, KJ Green.
That's right, the music of Hoodwood and the Hoodwood Hustle. If you want a copy of it, all you gotta do is ask me for it. Send me an email, kjgreen@blackbanditproductions.com, and I might just send you one. See what you like of the music. I've pretty much put all the music together with the Hoodwood's house band, the Uptown Gang, and put 16 tracks together. Even Snuffy back there, he has a song called Snuffy's Big Throwdown. A lot of fun to put it together, and I think you'll enjoy it too. Let's talk about something that we usually don't talk that much about in the Hoodwood because it just doesn't come up as an agenda topic. But NASCAR has taken the bold, and when I say bold, considering that NASCAR was founded in Florida, deep in the South, banning Confederate flags from its tracks going forward. This isn't a we're phasing this out. This is the flags aren't welcome. Snuffy makes a good point. Why fly the flag of a losing side? It never made any sense to me. People say, well, that's heritage, not hate. But you're flying the flag of a team that lost. You're flying a flag of a team that wanted to keep me or people of my complexion subservient. Tell me what that makes any sense. I applaud drivers like Jimmie Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Bubba Wallace. I can't say enough about Bubba Wallace. He is officially Hoodwood's favorite NASCAR driver. Not just because he's the only black driver in NASCAR, but because he has taken courageous stands before the Sunday race, standing with a I Can't Breathe t-shirt on and then a face mask saying I can't breathe. Being one of those who are as outspoken as the term can get about racial inclusion, diversity, and how being the only black driver in NASCAR, having to fight an uphill battle for acceptance as a driver. And keep in mind, he's driving a legendary number car. If you remember number 43 from Richard Petty, and that's got to say a lot to have a black driver driving King Richard's car. Not to say King Richard was a racist, because from all that I've read and all accounts, he isn't. He's been very much of a champion for Bubba Wallace driving his legendary number car. But the thing is, if you've ever been to a NASCAR race, I've been to one, it's hard to enjoy the race when you see Confederate flags flying. And it's something that has been, I would dare say, the elephant in the room for NASCAR for a long time. It isn't so much of being politically correct. You're basically holding a segment of the population at arm's length. And that's something that we really don't need. NASCAR is something that appeals to a segment of the population. It could appeal to a wider population if it was more inclusive. And banning the Confederate flag, I think, is something that will make it more inclusive. I think that it will make it more palatable to people of my complexion. Now, it's funny. My mother has been a fan of NASCAR as far back as I can remember, at least the last 25, 30 years. And it was always something that I never made any sense. And I spoke with her, because I speak to my mother every day, but we were discussing about the flag, and she made a point saying that it's history, it's part of history, and it should remain just that, history. My argument on it is, like Snuffy's, why are you flying the flag of a losing team? Why do you feel that you need to trumpet something that didn't win, that was part of traitorous actions to this great nation? It's never made any sense to me. It's never made any sense to me why anyone was honored as a traitor. They didn't honor Benedict Arnold. They didn't honor the saboteurs and spies for the two world wars. Why are they honoring generals and majors and soldiers who were traitors to this country? It never made any sense to me. And that flag is a symbol of that. NASCAR is deeply rooted in the South. It is part of the culture in the South. And yes, NASCAR plays all over this great country, but a majority of the races are played or run in Florida, in Georgia, in Alabama, in Tennessee, heart of, as they would say, Dixie, in the South. And it's hard not to go anywhere in the South without seeing it flown. And I've been to Tennessee numerous times, and I can say it does make me a little uncomfortable. And people are, and my goodness, I read so many things on Twitter. You've lost me as a fan. You don't get it. It's not about being politically correct. It's not about being a social justice warrior. It's about throwing something in the face of populace that doesn't want to be reminded of it. That if they had their way, that they would still be enslaved. These are, the more I think about it, the more it's like, this is doing what's right. And the thing, and ESPN's Barty Smith made an excellent point, that this couldn't have happened 5 years ago, couldn't happen 2 years ago. The winds of change, and it's not, again, I'm emphasizing all the way that it's not being politically correct, but the winds of change are dictating that. You can't have something that, to many people, is a symbol of oppression and hate and racism. It just doesn't work. It's something that I'm glad that a lot of the NASCAR drivers, and not just someone like Bubba Wallace, who is a good young driver, but doesn't have the kind of clout that Jimmie Johnson, who has been very vocal about this, he spoke up about it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. spoke up about it, saying it's time that we move past this. And people with that kind of gravitas, that kind of influence, goes a long way. I mean, it got to the point where there is an artist who does helmet design for a number of these drivers, who took to Twitter opposing this ban of Confederate flags. And these drivers basically told him, fare thee well. We won't need your artwork anymore on our helmets. We'll find someone else. That's the kind of real power and, as I said before, gravitas that these drivers are using for diversity, for social justice, for inclusion, by saying, if you don't want to play by our rules, go ahead and take your ball, go somewhere else. We won't miss you. And I think that's a good thing. Let's take another time out. Come back with the Hoodwood Hot 5. And, of course, on the horizon is the Phat head slap and the final word from Wood. Of course, the Hoodwood continues after this.
tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's premier location for no-nonsense commentary, insight, and opinion on the world of sports. Here now, the man with 100% certified fresh taste, your host, KJ Green.
And on we go in the Hoodwood. My name is KJ Green. Back. And let's look at the 5 subjects that I've called from the sporting world. I call it the Hoodwood Hot 5. First topic. I loathe to even mention this man's name on my show, but why does it seem like Donald Trump is going to try to pick a fight with the NFL? After all that's been going on, the NFL stepping up and saying that they will do more to work with the players for social inclusion, for racial justice, putting its money where its mouth is, and I was very impressed. The Hills affirming that Black Lives Matter and condemning racism. The league planning to increase its social justice footprint by pledging $250 million over a 10-year period. Now, that's putting your money where its mouth is. But, of course, you know that the president will not stand for the NFL going against what he feels is his directives. Stand straight, hand over heart. No disrespect to Old Glory. Someone still needs to clue this guy in that it's never been about disrespecting the flag or the military or Old Glory or anything like that. It's about speaking out. It's about justice. It's about doing the right thing. And we've all known that the man is nothing but tone deaf. Second topic in the Hoodwood Hot 5 is Dabo Swinney in hot water. It seems that the coach of the defending national champion Clemson Tigers is in a little bit of hot water for a shirt that he wore that said "Football Matters." I think personally, even after having not reined in one of his coaches for using racial slurs, I think that this shirt was just ill-timed. I don't think he did it on purpose. I don't think it was something that he was doing to try to counter a Black Lives Matter protest. Now, there are a number of Clemson players who have spoken out in favor of Dabo Swinney, saying that he is not being malicious and that he is not racially profiling or being racially biased. Many of the players in Clemson are marching to have the name of an honors college renamed, as it is right now currently named for John Calhoun, who was a noted slaveholder. Clemson, which is in South Carolina, has a bit of a dichotomy where it has a lot of African American players, but holds on to its Southern heritage as it is a private school. This is going to be a very interesting take to see what's going to happen between a powerhouse football program and an honors school. It's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out. Should athletes be at the forefront of protests? In our third Hoodwood Hot 5 topic, once conservative commentator Laura Ingraham once said that players like Kevin Durant and LeBron James should just shut up and dribble, but then turns right around and defends Drew Brees and saying the man should have his opinion. Now, we all know that Drew Brees did basically walk back, repudiate his statements that he had made, and I commend him for that. And I've said before that while I disagreed with Drew Brees' stance, I defended his right to say them. I disagree that, kneeling is not disrespectful to the military. But he was able to say, you know what, I was wrong. Give him points for that. But should athletes really be at the forefront of protests? I think their social platform makes and demands that they're at the forefront of protests, that they are speaking out. It's funny that when athletes speak out about, donating to hospitals for social change that is helping people, 99 out of 100 times they're applauded. That's what they're using their platform for good. But when they're saying stuff using their platform that makes people uncomfortable, then there's your problem. There's your issue. Athletes, while playing, should be able to afford the right to use their platform for protest if they feel that is something that they truly believe in. Not the flavor of the month, but something that they truly believe in. Because you're going, well, that's not the proper form to it. Then when is? A lot of these NFL players are doing it in the off season. But people are, well, they don't need to be protesting now. Why not? They're not doing it on the field. They're doing it on their own time. See, it's making people uncomfortable. And that's the thing that's the whole crux of it. Our fourth topic, will college football start on time? Now, we're looking at mid-June right now. We're still not sure if the games will be played. or if they'll be played in front of people, if we're just going to do conference games. There are so many things that need to be threshed out. And we're looking at less than 60 days, a little bit more, I should say more than 60 days, before the scheduled start of the season. 60 days goes by real fast. Trust and believe. We've been without sports for 3 months. That's 90 days. It's kind of slow as crap to me, but that's neither here nor there. I'm wondering, will we have college football in the form that we've known it for the last 150 years? Will we have that come late August, early September? I'm worried about that. And our final topic in the Hoodwood Hot 5, the Major League Baseball draft was on Wednesday and continues through Thursday the 11th. They'll be continuing the MLB draft, but they've been televising it. Is Major League Baseball showing how tone deaf it is? In the middle of its nasty labor negotiations, they're hyping up future players to their sport. Now, I understand Major League Baseball constantly is moving forward. The sport is moving forward. They're, creating the new generation of players. But these players can't even report to the minor leagues because the minor leagues aren't even playing this year. Major League Baseball always seems to have this tone-deaf attitude about itself and its place in sporting society. Those things really need to change. You can't walk back the MLB draft now. It's already been played. It's already been done. But it just is a bad look. Really bad look. Let's take our final timeout. Come back with Phat Dap, Head Slap, and the final word from the Wood. Sports from the Hoodwood heads down the home stretch after this.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest insight, thorough analysis, and unfiltered opinion on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's the man of the hour, After Hours, your host, KJ Green.
Strong with Phat Dap, it's loud, and the final word from the Hood. Phat Dap of the week goes to the GOAT, Michael Jordan. Doesn't matter that he hasn't played in basketball in 17 years. He's still the GOAT. He's trying to be the GOAT of fly fishing, too. Michael Jordan caught a 442-pound blue marlin in a competition just a few days ago out just off of the coast of North Carolina, Morehead City, North Carolina. And 442 pounds for anybody is crazy, but didn't even put him in the top 3 in the money. Finished 6th. I can't believe anybody could pull in a 442-pound marlin to win a competition, much less who pulled in more. But still, Michael Jordan is proving why he still is the GOAT. 442 pounds? It's like he pulls it in, and the crowd is going nuts, and he's just like, I get to see him do that shrug like he did against the Blazers. Like, what do you expect? I'm the GOAT. Phat dap to Michael Jordan for doing stuff, just proving once again that he is the GOAT. Our head slap of the week goes to someone you probably have never heard of, and the only reason you've heard of it is because of how eminently stupid he sounds. Ray Cicerelli. Was it Ciccarelli or Cicerelli? I believe it's Cicerelli. A part-time driver from Elliott City, Maryland, decided, with the NASCAR prohibiting the Confederate flag at its tracks, decided, I don't want to race no more. I'm going to retire at the end of the season. Saying, and I quote, I'm pulling this off of, this is quoted from CNN, quote, well, it's been a fun ride and a dream come true. But if this is the direction NASCAR is headed, we will not participate after the 2020 season is over. I don't believe in kneeling during the anthem, nor taking people's right to fly whatever flag they love. Cicerelli's 50 years old. Cicerelli has never won a NASCAR race. He's a part-time driver in the truck series. He's never won a race in his career, period. Snuffy says it best. Boy, bye. No one will miss you. Head slap to the tone-deaf Ray Cicerelli. Good luck in finding another job somewhere else. Not like anybody really cared about your driving anyway. That is the head slap of the week. And without much further ado, let's go to the final word from the wood. Looking back over the prism of time, things can be a bit deceptive. By all rights and account, the year 1998 in Major League Baseball was a banner year. Some new players, some old players. Players like Ricky Henderson, yeah, he was still in the league. He stole 66 bases that year. Cal Ripken's iconic streak ended, ironically, on my 26th birthday. Me, I was just a knucklehead living in Minneapolis trying to put myself through broadcasting school. I watched a lot of baseball that year. The Twins weren't that good, but tickets were cheap, and I trundled myself down to the Metrodome often to watch them play. They actually took 2 of 3 from the Yankees in August. I remember thinking it was so funny. The Yankees so dominant, the Twins so bad, but the Twins had their number that weekend. I also managed to see the great home run chase, which captured the nation's imagination, of Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa from the Dominican Republic, Mark McGwire, the squinting player from California. McGwire playing for in his first full season with the Cardinals after hitting 58 home runs the year before, splitting time between the A's and being traded to the Cardinals midway through the 1997 season. Sosa playing his 4th season with the Cubs, a decent hitting but free swinging hitter. But they captured the imagination of the nation in that summer, hitting home runs at a frightening clip. I managed to catch the Cubs playing the Twins in Minneapolis in mid-May. Sosa hit a home run in that game. He would be leading the league with 20 at that time. Day after day, we would talk at my evening job if McGwire hit one out or Sosa hit one out. We hear the report. Hey, you heard McGwire got another one, or Sosa got another one. In mid-July, I managed to capture, through my friend Adam, tickets to the Twins Cardinals game. Cardinals having to come through Minneapolis and play. And it was a wild time to say the least. The pavilion outside the gate where the outfield seats was full 2.5 hours before game time, and the rush to get to the seats was palpable. Watching Mark McGwire take batting practice was probably one of the most breathtaking things I have seen before or since. The oohs and ahs of the crowd as he crushed ball after ball off the side of the upper deck of the Metrodome is still something I will always remember. And it just happened that Saturday night, McGwire hit his 37th of his then record 70 home runs, hitting a 2-run shot in the 8th inning. the crowd giving him a standing ovation, something I've rarely seen for a visitor before or since. Now, Mark McGwire, as I mentioned before, hit 70 home runs. Sammy Sosa hit 66 that year, and the nation proclaimed baseball being back, and that McGwire and Sosa were the catalysts of this comeback. Looking at back over the prism of time, you think that was a great season. But reality, as so often named as the really crucible of things, will shake you to your core. McGwire and Sosa both were tainted with the stain of performance-enhancing drugs. And baseball more or less shrugged its shoulders, said chicks dig the long ball, then rooted the players out that were taking performance-enhancing drugs. Neither McGwire nor Sosa are anywhere close to inclusion in the hallowed halls of fame in Cooperstown. 1998 was an interesting season, to say the very least. The home runs were flying. Many players hit close to or over 50 home runs that season. The home runs were flying. The runs were scoring. The Yankees were winning. They ended up winning the World Series that fall. And baseball began to recapture the imagination of the public. But at what cost? The cynicism that is now looked at that season because of its steroid fuel is something that clouds that perception of that season. I enjoyed that season. I enjoyed watching the games. I did enjoy the stain of performance-enhancing drugs that would permeate the rest of that entire season and the seasons to follow. Should we celebrate these seasons, this particular season? ESPN is doing a documentary in its 30 for 30 series called Long Gone Summer. It's going to be on Sunday the 14th. Is this something that we should celebrate? The steroid fuel bombs that were boggling the mind, whereas players like Ken Griffey Jr. and then later Barry Bonds were on the sidelines going, why aren't they celebrating us? The summer of 98 was a magical summer, in more ways than one. I enjoyed my time watching baseball, but then I look back. Is there a little bit of tinge of cynicism in that? Because now, knowing what I know now, those gargantuan home runs may have been fueled by PEDs. And that is just something I cannot get my head around. Makes me a bit sick to my stomach. The memories, the good and bad, juxtaposed against one another, is something hard to reconcile. And that is the final word from the wood. With the music coming up in the background, you know that means your time in the Hoodwood is just about done, and I thank you so much for your visit again this week. Now, the email for the show is kjgreen@blackbanditproductions.com. You can send me emails on show topics, questions, comments, and criticism. I welcome your correspondence and try to respond to every email as quickly as possible. You can catch this podcast on a number of sites, including Amazon Prime, where the video version is hosted. I'm also on iTunes, Google Play, as well as YouTube. I'm all over the place. I'm digital now. The show site itself is hoodwoodsports.podbean.com. We have previous shows back catalog. You can get copies of the Hoodwood Hustle and all the soundtrack on there, and audio versions of previous shows as well. I'm also on Facebook, Black Bandit Productions Enterprises. I'm also on Twitter at KJGreen20 and KJGreenBB. Send me a tweet, I might tweet you back. Special thanks to Rage Pictures for their outstanding, continued, fine production of the show. And that is that, those sports fans. Until next time out in the Hoodwood, I'm KJ Green. 30.
Sports from the Hoodwood
Is a Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises presentation
of a 550